Jamie? Yes, so welcome everyone, and welcome those who are online with us. And as usually, invitation. Anyone would like to swap the chair for half an hour, 20 minutes? Give us the little burst, little intro. Jamie? Or you can speak from here?
That's all right. You go first.
All right, okay. Okay, so yeah, you are already that. You are the presence that you are looking for. Whatever you are looking for can't be found because it is your essential nature. It can't be objectified. You know, that's a famous saying, ancient saying of Socrates or whoever it was, know thyself. What self can you know if this is what you are? The thyself, the essence of what you are, is unknowable because it can't be an object in knowing. So it is the knowing. It isn't an object. It isn't a thing. Therefore, it can't be found as a thing. But what can be known is the filter through which it expresses. And that filter is the body-mind machine. And this is one of the most potent of Bob's pointers when he invites people to investigate and he invites people to look and learn and know the mind, see how it functions, see how it operates. Because by watching and understanding the way the world is projected, you will very easily see the dream. You will see how it comes about. You will see how it is created. And it is fairly easy watching the mind. And when it happens, when it is watched, where is it watched from? Who is doing that? There might be a little looping happen that the mind is watching the mind and is judging the mind and it is disappointed in a way. The mind travels to past and future and is beating itself up. But all of that is also registered. So that registering, that capacity to know, the pure knowing, is your essential nature. Mind arising, the judgment of the mind arising, any computing, any interpretation of the world, any sensation that is known, any perception is registered in that field of knowing, in that pure consciousness. And that field of knowing, that knowing, cannot be known, is not an object, is a process. But it can't be denied either. That pure knowing is with you all along, never not been here. Capacity for aliveness, the radiance, the luminosity of that cognizing capacity, the knowing. And Bob sometimes uses the ancient concept of cognizing emptiness, or he says it is like a sky, sky-like awareness, or space-like awareness, emptiness with the capacity to register, to know its own existence. But it only has that capacity if there is a mean of reflecting. Nothing that doesn't have the opposite can't be experienced. Nothing can be experienced that doesn't have the opposite. So even existence, the I am, is only experienced because there is a means of experiencing. There is a vehicle through which it is experienced. And that's what we are experiencing directly. There is the sense of I am. You can't stop it. You can't deny it. You can't imagine. Maybe you can imagine, but you're still here to imagine how it is not to be. So this is beyond the scope of non-duality, theoretizing how it is not to exist, because that's happening in the presence of existence. And it is imagination. So the mind, as you watch the mind and as you see the way it operates, you will see that it operates on mental images, thoughts, concepts, ideas, all of what was learned. I'll just see if we are audible, just to be sure. No complaints? All right, good. Okay, because I can't actually, I don't have the notification. All right, no complaints, we'll go with that. So seeing how the mind functions, seeing how it operates, how it always wants to travel the attention, moving to what is not happening right now, what happened yesterday or a month ago or in a childhood, or contextualize, paint a bigger picture of how the world is, how the politics are, how people are, how I am. All those things, all those grandiose ideas about what is not happening right now, or the future, fears, what is going to happen. Am I going to get sick or weak or die or old? This is again what is not happening right now. What is happening presently is very, very simple. A simple aliveness happening, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. There's a basic interpretation of those sensations for the functioning without much narrative. There is still a processing going on. The things that are registered are not necessarily labeled, but they are recognized for what they are. And the same applies to animals. We have a cat moving through the room now. And her way of being present with seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, and smelling is very simple, very present. She's not fantasizing about the disease that can happen in 10 years from now. She's not even planning where the next meal is coming from. She's living completely, responding to whatever appears in that field of registering. So this is the way of living in a present moment, without the unnecessary story attached to it. A life like that is simple, is straightforward, and everything gets done as it always does, because there is that cognizing emptiness, or that knowing capacity right from, or even before the body was born. It is here functioning in this way, always and forever, already present. That light state, light, luminous with light, and weightless state of just letting the body mind respond to whatever arises. So this is the natural state, and this natural state is always present. It just gets obscured, and how it gets obscured, this is another practical point on watching the mind and seeing how it functions. It gets obscured by imagination, get obscured by imagining or memorizing and embellishing whatever happened, exaggerating whatever happened, or whatever is going to happen or might happen. All that is not present right now. So this is one of the ways. Another ways, interpreting, making meaning, adding a story. And adding a story, what a wonderful capacity. But when the story is believed, when it is taken to be reality, straight away the natural state is completely obscured, completely veiled by the story. And now the reality of this moment, of just being, seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, is gone, seemingly gone, is completely ignored, and now is replaced by the fact, oh, there is a war, oh my God, the airspace may be blocked, I may not travel, or this is happening, or my diet is not good enough, or I have a disease or something. And this is reality. Where are those things when you don't think about them in this moment? This is not to deny or ignore that things are happening within the story, within the dream. They absolutely are. But it is to distinguish between the natural state and whatever is added on it, the imagination that is added on it. Then we can come back and deal and play and address the dream. And again, no one is doing it. It is naturally happening. It's not that when you realize that the natural state is underlying everything, then the functioning within the dream is obscured or somehow impossible. No, the dream goes on. That's why I think was it Leo Hartung. I think Bob knew him from phone conversations that didn't meet physically, but he was very, very much influenced by Bob's teachings. He had a wonderful concept of awakening to the dream instead of awakening from the dream, which is also inevitable in that dream of time when the body drops dead. But awakening to the dream while the body is still functioning, the mind is functioning, all senses are functioning, including imagination. Awakening to the dream is realizing the dream for what it is. The imagination functions. I can very well have a conversation, imaginary conversation in my head with my mother. I can rehearse, even though she's not present right here, right now. All the capacities of writing stories, watching stories, and engaging with what is not happening are absolutely present as they always were. It's just that they are known for what they are. That's the only difference. The realization that the natural state is the reality and the story overlaying it is a story. It's not the reality. The word water is not water. The story about another continents and another galaxies and another planets are not another galaxies and another planets. They are just stories. They are just what is appearing in the consciousness as a veil to that natural state. Because again, of that incredible capacity to imagine, which is absolutely wonderful capacity, and is not to be treated lightly, is the creativeness of that human pattern, is the whole civilizations, the whole dream gets so much more colorful with the capacity to exchange stories and create amazing connections and meanings and all that. But knowing them for what they are, suddenly they get light, they're playful, they are not binding. The story that I'm unlovable is not the story that will make me fantasize about the suicide. It's the story that will make me laugh, because that's absolute impossibility. In that realization that the natural state, in the natural state in which there is no separate self, is just seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, and imagining, and nobody does the seeing. The idea that there is someone doing the seeing is an idea. Seeing is happening just the same way as digestion is happening. Nobody does digestion. It's happening the same way as the cells are being replaced and the hair are growing. Nobody does that. And yet it is happening. Seeing is the natural capacity that no person, no miniature little me is doing. There might be an idea that there is a me who has the capacity of seeing. But again, this is just a thought. Seeing is natural. The cat is seeing as well, without an idea of their little kitty there inside somewhere that is doing it. And if there is someone who is doing it, well, make it stop. See if that's possible. And then you will see that seeing is as natural as the movement of the planets, as the movement of the blood flow in the body. And same with hearing. Nobody does it, and yet it is there. What is hearing? The whole field is hearing. You can hear the cars far away. And now the far away comes from the interpreting mind. But if that interpretation is pushed aside, there is just a sound. And the sound is happening here. Everything is happening here. And that here doesn't have any distance. It is here. You can't pinpoint from where the here begins and where it ends without the concept. It's only the thought that defines that experience of here now. Without the thought, it's all there is. Seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling. But there is no one doing any of it. It's the pure life, pure intelligence or pure essence, looking out of those eyes and seeing the whole field of seeing, hearing. Not even to say looking out of these eyes is already a little bit too much of the interpretation going on. Because unless you think or visualize the eyes, there are no eyes. There's just seeing. So in that seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, the life is experiencing and expressing itself in the natural state. And through the thinking and imagining and projecting, life is also experiencing and expressing itself. And within that expression, there is an illusion of agency. There is a dream character, the me, the I, that is imagining. And everything that the dream character is experiencing is related to that reference point. So you can see in that field of seeing, the reference point arises spontaneously. And now relating arises spontaneously. Imagining arises spontaneously. And no one does any of it. It just happens. And if you see it in this way, there is no objection to reference point arising. There is no objection to the body responding or reacting with whatever the feeling, whatever the energy. Just like the cat, when you step on its tail, will just do whack and run. The same way, any body, when you step on its tail, will make a noise and run. And there is no one doing any of it. It's the intelligence of that vehicle that does everything. And the same intelligence, when it is realized that there is no one leaving the life leaves itself through every pattern, every shape, every form. The same intelligence does the right thing. When there is a hunger, it will create the urge in the body to find the food and feed it. If there is an idea arising of paying a bills, the urge and the idea again, nobody creates the idea, it just arises in consciousness. And it responds with the urge to perform certain action. And the narrative comes right along, because of the way the body is conditioned, comes right along to take credit for it. I am doing it. I am doing the seeing. I am doing the paying bills. I am doing the hearing. This is I, this is me. I'm not doing it well enough. I should do it better. Or I should raise my consciousness. Or I should join or transform myself, or maybe overcome the separation. Individual self can never, ever overcome the separation because it doesn't have any reality. Individual self doesn't have the reality, and neither does the separation. Both of those ideas arise in the unified field of knowing, of present knowing, the cognizing emptiness. They aren't separate, they are inseparable from that field of knowing. Everything that has ever been registered in that field is unified with it, in it. So what could be separate? In the imagination, of course, and in the practical functioning within the dream, obviously the walls are separated by the space in between, so nobody bumps into the walls. The dreams have certain guiding principles which are already inbuilt in the processing, in the processor, in the machine that processes it. There is already inbuilt in every animal to avoid the bitter or rotten fruits and eat the ripe and sweet ones. And the same mechanism rolls over to avoid the running truck or jumping off the tall buildings. It is already inbuilt, pre-programmed in the processor. So there is nothing to theorize. Yes, there are people who commit suicide. Yes, that's love of being too. If the being, there are animals who commit suicide too. If the love of being is so threatened, if the experiencing is so unbearable, apparently the chooks can do that if you keep them in a cages. That's the love of being too, because that is survival instinct has two objectives. One is to exist, to experience the being, so to preserve the vehicle so the life can see, hear, taste, touch, smell, and experience and express itself. But another one is also designed to thrive, to follow the pleasure, to avoid pain. Is attracted to love and is repelled from suffering. So if the suffering is unavoidable, well, the closest way to experience the bliss of being is to stop the processor. And it may be a little controversial because, of course, you know, the main objective of the whole society is to value life. And the moment the life is gone, well, that's a sin, mortal sin. But life is never gone. It can't go. It can't be killed. The energy cannot be destroyed. It can be transformed. Life is never gone. If that particular way of experiencing through the mind, through the brain, through the processor, whatever the concept is ended, life is still expressing. And Bob was illustrating it beautifully when he was saying, see, the body is alive and the light shines of its eyes. And then when the body dies, the eyes glaze over, but the life is still working. Now, instead of, it's decomposing the body now. Instead of growing that body and replacing that cells and preserving that form, it is decomposing the form. They are maggots, they are bacteria, they are enzymes. They are working all the time relentlessly, and they never stop. And the body turns to ash, and it feeds the ground, and it feeds or it pollutes the ocean. But somehow that energy, that life is still there. And the energy that goes out goes back to the space, the bliss of being. Although, again, it can only be experienced if there is a vehicle through which it can only be experienced in the contrast of its opposite. Otherwise, it's not experienced. We all know how well we experience the body if there is nothing wrong with it. It doesn't even show up. Do you even have the body if there is no pain, no tension? You know, before you were 50, how much did you know about having a body? Now you get up and ouch, now you know it's there. Same with anything, the temperature. There is a temperature, but if the temperature is optimal, it's not even experienced. When there will be a spike of cold air coming in or hot air, yes, now there is an experience. People have the fantasy of nirvana or enlightenment, being the constant, uninterrupted state of orgasmic bliss. How long would you experience that for before it became a baseline and is just unexperienceable like as optimal temperature? Those sort of fantasies, they also come from love of being. But you can see, when you see how the mind operates, you can see where is that fantasy coming from, and you can laugh at it, and you can't believe it anymore. You can't believe in that romantic but ridiculous and impractical idea of persistent shaking in a serotonin shock. And now you can actually, when the mind relaxes, you can find the sweetness in the natural state, in just resting in absolute stillness of being, in which there is nothing wrong, in which there is no, even if the anxiety or stress or anger arises, they are just bubbling energy moving through that space that is absolutely still and untouched. That cognizing emptiness, which equally invites and appreciates and unconditionally accepts everything that arises in it. Just like the blank canvas or the screen unconditionally allows and accepts everything that arises in it. That space, that registering space, or that cognizing emptiness, it doesn't mind the dream character experiencing dread or grief or fear. It doesn't. It actually, it's even in that stillness, it even finds the sweetness in the, well, it is blasphemous to say it because it naturally avoids persistent pain. But if there is enough relaxation, I've heard people who are coming here with massive chronic pain, like lasting 20, 30 years. And they said that was also, there was a place in which relaxing out of any resistance would shift it and would transform it into the non-labeled movement of energy. And of course, the body is equipped to avoid pain, to medicate pain, to cry for help in case of pain. And that's brilliant too. That unified field, registering, cognizing emptiness, or that pure witnessing presence, it welcomes that too. Any help, any movement, including the movement of gaining skills in life. If someone doesn't have skills, gaining skill of cooking, or gaining skill of nonviolent communication, or gaining skills of living in the relationship, or whatever it is, those things are also appearing in the space, and they are also welcome. Or healing, any sort of healing, any sort of, if there is no, or if there is a recognition of that credit-taking pattern, which is constantly narrating and saying, oh shit, I'm sick, I have to help myself. What if I choose the wrong method? This will all be on me. What if I'm doing it wrong? What if I'm not taking right supplements? What if I'm not going to the right therapy? That's unnecessary, not only delusion of grandeur, that this is all on you and there is a you and that you can get it wrong, but it's also unnecessary delusion that anything can ever be wrong in that self-organizing universe, in that brilliance which they call omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience, the godliness, the love that life is. If it has the vehicle that of experiencing an expression which is programmed to harm, to self-harm, or to harm others, the idea would be, or the narrative would be, that this is wrong. But from life's perspective, from God's perspective, there is absolutely nothing wrong in anything. It's just what is as it is. How wrong it was to shield Buddha from those guys who were sick and dead and poor. And how wrong it was when he stumbled upon the human suffering. And this is, again, it's just a metaphor. It's just a story. Nobody ever met any historical Buddha, and it doesn't really matter. It just exists right now as we use the metaphor. So those things, the darkness, the pain, the suffering, from life's perspective, it is absolutely necessary. You have to have dark color on the white canvas to see anything at all. If the canvas is painted only in white, there is no painting, there is no white, there is no canvas. So everything that arises, and that's also amazing how much human suffering, whichever life story you take, the life story of individual is always written with suffering, whatever it is, whether it is childhood trauma, or is the current sense of unfulfillment, not being in the right job, not being in the right relationship, not being appreciated or not being loved. Doesn't matter what the human story says. It is always a story of incompleteness and unfulfillment, which is the suffering. As Buddha said, the life is suffering. There is a way out of suffering, though. Look at the mind, see how it functions, question the story, see if it's valid, see if it really is the me that lives the life, or is just life living itself, and within that life expressing itself through the body, reference point arises and drops away. And notice the moments when there is no reference point, when there is just, just being. Nothing's happening, nothing's wrong. Even if the concept arises that there is something wrong, well, that concept arises in the field which doesn't agree with the concept. Concept comes, I am unlovable, but the field doesn't say that. The registering of that idea is not unlovable, it's neutral. It neither is nor it isn't, because it can't be objectified. So for the mind it is nothing. But you drop to your heart, and in that heart of presence, it's just peaceful, restful, sense of being, sense of there is nothing wrong ever with anything. Even if the ideas come up, yes, but you know, there are people dying. And again, Bob had this beautiful reminder, really sweet, you know, you put on the news and you see, oh, what a horrible tragedy. Someone died of overdose because they had a wrong, whatever, drink, drug drink or whatever, or there is a war and there are people in orphanage. He says every night in this city, there are a few hundred people dying for whatever reasons. Nobody even mentions that. And how many families is touched by those deaths? Nobody even mentions that. See how the whole life is a movement of attention. You attend to the idea of war, and now the visions, the imagination, the ideas come with. And with that, heart opens and cries with compassion. What a wonderful way. Although, if you would interview those particular people in the moment of dread, their story wouldn't be just the same as the story that is presented to the news a month later. Because in the moment of now, everything is fresh and new, and there is an optimal functioning, especially under strong stress. Same with the animals. We are so preoccupied with people. But look how many species of animals are dying every single day. Species of insects. We don't like insects. We don't give a shit. Good on them. Let them die. But those things, we can also open a heart and go on the imaginary journey and have compassion and love and all that. Or trees, or spirits. We can invent, what was there, Lemurians, Pleiadians, other species, and again open the heart for compassion. But if we don't see the difference between what is naturally happening in this present moment, right here, right now, and what is an imaginary overlay of that which is not happening, which is only thought of, which is only memorized, projected, or imagined, well, welcome to the world of suffering. Welcome to the world of delusion. And everyone around us is reinforcing that world. Go on the tram stop and tell people that in this moment right now, where you are, there is no war. You're crazy. You're in denial. You should be locked up. But really, unless you employ the mind using mental images in this moment right now, is there anything wrong? The mind is the seeing its wonderful capacity to interpret every moment, contextualize it, add meaning, and make to something that it is not, is absolutely brilliant. The projection of the mind is absolutely brilliant when you see it for what it is. It doesn't stop. It will still invite you for the ride. It will still narrate. It will still take credit. But now it is seen in the right perspective. It is not me. It is the processor arising in that which I am, in the natural state. Is the cognizing capacity, the reasoning capacity arising and offering an angle, offering an interpretation. It is an offer. It is a servant. It is not the master. It doesn't know the way. It does its best according to its programming. And for some people, it is to project danger all around all the time because of the conditioning. For other people, it is to project love and kindness all around. And everything in between, changing from hour to hour, from minute to minute, from year to year. But when you see how it fluctuates, that overlay, that lens, that perceptual lens that interprets the world, the vehicle, the me, the friends, the enemies, the stories, when you see how it arises, when you see how it changes, depending on the mood, on diet, on weather, wow, what a ride. What an incredible invention. What a fantastic projector. And now, why would you want it to end? Why would you want it to stop? Why would you have any objections, even if the projector tends to display that whatever ADHD or anxiety or OCD or trauma responses or, wow, this is equally fascinating. Who is there to say that this is right or wrong? It's amazing. You have that incredible privilege to see that one particular vehicle and get to know it so intimately well. Just as if you're getting to know your coat, your car, or your house. Like Bob would say, you call it my body, my mind. Like you say, my coat, my car, my house. You obviously is handy to know, what the capacities your coat has. Whether it has the pockets or hood, or whether it is warm, or whether it is separable, or what is it made of, is handy. You're gonna have a much better use of it when you know its capacity. Same with the car. If you don't know where your blinkers are or where your brakes are, well, good luck. But if you get to know your vehicle, you know its capacities. It doesn't mean you have to fix it. It doesn't mean you have to judge it. It doesn't mean there is anything wrong or right or anything at all. This is what you got. It's like you got whatever, green eyes or blue eyes. This is what you got. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't matter. But knowing it, well, what harm in that? And knowing the capacity of reasoning, knowing the capacity of imagination, knowing the tendencies, the particular tendencies, the particular way of responding to situations, even knowing its cravings or its little addictions, and being fascinated by it without judging it. Just, wow, oh my gosh, because this is not personal, because this is not me. If that one responds in a ridiculous way in certain situations, well, there is no one there who says, oh shit, oh, I'm a piece of shit, I hate myself, I shouldn't be doing like, oh my God, I shouldn't be thinking, saying it. I'm not doing it. I'm not. This is what this vehicle does. I am the presence which never does a thing. It doesn't do. What I am doesn't do anything. It's not the doer. It's a registering field. It's the cognizing emptiness. It's the non-doing, non-existent, non-existence, non-person. It's a field. It doesn't have boundaries. It doesn't have shape, form, age. It doesn't have anything. It's just a pure knowing, no ink. That's it. Too much chatting now. Now we can all chat. Anyone would like to start chatting?
Very quiet. Attend to the thoughts of war that come up, and that's what you will get.
Oh yeah.
Attend to thoughts of suffering and misery, and I'm not good enough, and that's what you'll get.
Yep.
You put energy of belief into them.
Yeah.
No requirement to do that at all.
No.
It's all unnecessary, imagined nothing. It's really nothing there.
Nothing.
But it's a lovely illusion. There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Enjoy it. Like you say, it's no harm in getting to know the machine,
Yeah.
the vehicle, the so-called mind. Watch the mind, see how it functions. That's all. And know that there's no central intelligence running the show.
Head office.
No head office. No mini-me. No puppeteer. Look at your actual experience. That's all you have to do. You have to listen to anybody else's story. Oh no, how? I want to know, how did you realize? Tell me, I must know everybody's story. No, just what is your own experience? Drop away the conditioning, the brainwashing, the stuff, all the stuff you believe you've learnt. See through it. It's just more vibrations in space. And then all you have is just the experiencing. It's actually what's happening. All the rest is nonsense. Just for, like saying something, wow, you're nuts. You should be locked up. But that is, there's, like the king and queen whose subjects had all gone mad.
Oh yeah.
And in order to fit in, they had to drink of the same poison well and become mad like the rest of them. See through it. That's all. That's why we're here.
I got a couple of comments here from online community. Yes, Tibor confirms that he can hear us. Thank you. And Annika says, is the now limited to just here, or in the now, being that there is no time-space separation? Does the now embrace what's happening everywhere? Or am I just not paying attention to it? Hope that makes sense. Yes, the here and the now embraces everything, including imaginary spaces that are not right here, right now. It includes everything. It includes the whole imagination. You can imagine the whole globe, galaxies, planets, Pleiadians, Neptunians, Uranians, whatever there is a fashionable trend in spirituality and all those things. They all included. All imaginations also included. And what is happening physically in the field of seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling? That's your primary realization of natural state. I mean, if you look at the cat on Jamie's lap, it doesn't imagine Pleiadians and war zones or anything else because it doesn't have that capacity. So that capacity of imagining is the capacity that human pattern has. And it's nothing wrong in the imagining, with the imagining. But it is also happening presently. It is also right here, right now. And we had, Tanya, thank you for bringing it up. Instead of focusing on stories, everybody else's stories, it's a direct knowing happening. It's a present experience happening that nobody can deny. We had a comment from last week on the YouTube video, someone requesting if everyone in this group could tell publicly their awakening story. They really enjoyed Jane's awakening story and a few other people that said how it happened to them. And yeah, that was an online request, but honestly, people who actually are moved to share their stories, they've already done so. Very often there isn't any defined moment in time, because the time is part of the imagination. It is the present experience of right here, right now. Right here, right now. You are present and aware. The recognition is only in that instant. In the story, which defines that, oh yeah, the reference point stopped arising, or it kept arising, but it wasn't believed. It happened on that occasion when I was eating pizza, or yeah, I have few of those stories included in my book, the Sailor Bob Bags of Pointers, just as an examples of how ridiculous it is to relate to someone else's stories and project and imagine that this is going to happen to me in a similar manner in the future. Life is an infinite creativity, is so incredibly creative. You don't have two same fingerprints anywhere. You don't have two the same snowflakes anywhere. You won't have two same awakening stories anywhere. Every story you ever heard from someone else, as fascinating they are, they're not going to be repeated. They are already taken. Don't even imagine this is going to happen like this to you, because the you that wants to experience awakening story is a fictional dream character. It's not going to experience anything. You are the one that is aware of that dream character wanting to be awakened. You are the field in which that delusion of separation arises and perpetuates the dream of the future fulfillment. You, the field, is already complete. It doesn't need fulfillment. Give up on the dream character. Watch it lovingly as it comes and goes, but don't think that is who you are. And if the thinking of me being a dream character happens, notice that even that identification is somehow known in the field of consciousness, in the cognizing emptiness. You do know that you are identified as dream character. What is that knowing? That knowing is free from the identity. And that is your essential nature. Even the arising identity is somehow cognized or registered in that field, which is not identified. And that's it. Anyone? Anything? No? Yes?
Just, oh, nothing come out. Just on awakening, the lady who was asking about awakening stories, they're all conceptual, but awakening is always presently. Yeah. We're continually awake, so it's not a static moment in time. Well, there's stories of experiences, but there are different experiences that come and go. Some are more profound or seemingly significant than others. But awakening can only be presently. We're fully and widely awake presently, and that's the only awakening there will ever be, because this is all there is. So a lot of those stories are just more sort of chewing gum for the mind to conceptualize and imagine over. So awakening is always present. It's our nature, and we can all settle into that awakeness. If you can feel it's just the baseline of our existence, that's always present whenever we can seemingly be out of that presence and go into a imaginary sense of individualism or personhood, which is fine too. That's what's happening. But even if that is happening, it's only ever happening in that awakeness that is already there. It's kind of like a focusing of attention or belief. Everybody, like I'm assuming that whoever's watching this or anybody in this room now understands that we're not the thinker of thoughts. The thoughts are happening on that awakeness. There's thoughts appearing. So there's an energy of belief that can be harvested by the thinking process, depending on where our attention goes. So our baseline attention is that awakeness, and we all know that we all can just sense that awakeness, that it's always there. But over that, there may be different thoughts and feelings that are appearing, and they may be trying to convince you that you're not awake. Because it's so clear and obvious that there is awakeness, there is an I amness, aliveness that is vibrating, humming through these patterns. So clear and obvious, and you pointed out, it's ever sort of pointed out, the first objection you kind of hear, well, yeah, that's obvious, but that's not it. And that thought, that's not it, is just an invitation from your separateness. Because it's not your thought. We all understand that we don't think the thoughts happen to us. But the thoughts come in as an invitation to keep us in the belief in separation, which is only ever a belief. And it kind of reminds me of a story from many years ago. I spent a bit of time in Hong Kong. Every time I left my hotel room in Hong Kong, let's just say my hotel room is the aliveness, beingness, non-dual reality. As soon as I'd walk outside of that hotel, everyone was trying to sell me something. So I walk down the street, this guy's grabbing, hey, you know, you want to buy a watch? I've got Cartier watches. And you go, no, thanks. I don't need a watch. He goes, maybe you want a massage? You want a girl? I'll get you a girl. And the more I'd engage with these sellers, the more they keep trying to harvest energy from me, which is my money, my wallet. They wanted money. And the more I would engage, the more I'd encourage them. And I'd walk up, then the next guy grabbed me, he goes, you want some dope? I got you, get some dope. You know, they're always trying to sell me, and I'm like, I can't, I just want to go and get a coffee, you know. And these salesmen just couldn't walk 2 meters without being, you know, accosted by these. And then one day I just came to the realization that I'm actually giving them my attention, that I actually don't need to give them any attention at all. And one day I just walked out of the hotel and I just kept walking. I didn't engage. I didn't stop and say, no, I'm okay, thanks. I just kept walking, and like they didn't even exist. They were just ghosts. Yes. And they didn't touch me. And then after doing that a couple of times, they would leave me alone. And then when I'd leave the hotel, they go, oh, it's this guy again. He's not interested. And I was free. I was free of them. And in a way, our thoughts, our beliefs in separation or inadequacy or whatever are like those salesmen. They're offering us an invitation back into separation. And they require our energy and attention to give them the seeming reality. And it's our attention that makes, I am a person, that my problems are real. And it creates that it's like an energy harvesting matrix that keeps us pulled into this idea of separation by inviting us constantly in with these thoughts, which we entertain through the energy of belief. The energy keeps that feeling of separation real, but without our participation, without our consent, resting as what we are, the thoughts, like the salesman, will start to lose, and they get quieter and quieter, and they realize, it's like Bob always used the example of the iron poker in the fire. When you put the poker into the fire, it's red hot like the fire. It can burn like the fire, but it has no independent nature or existence of its own. It's harvesting the energy of the fire, and it can seem seemingly real. It can burn. It's dangerous. And the invitation to thought of separation is exactly like that. And it's only through our consent as that resting awareness that we energize those thoughts, make them seem real. But this problem, like, there really is a war, and, you know, like, and they can seem seemingly real. But if we sort of decline the invitation into participating in that, then like those salesmen, after a while, they'll lose their energy and you'll just walk straight past them. They'll still be there and they may kind of try and make eye contact occasionally, but you've seen through it and you can just walk through them. And in the way, this belief of separation, because we all understand at baseline, I am, that sense of I amness, that aliveness. It's undoubtable. I don't know anybody who's going to create an argument that we don't exist. That's just a given. We are already that. But on that is these seemingly sort of invitations into separation of, well, surely there's got to be some amazing experience before I am that, because I haven't had the experience yet, or yeah, but that's not enough, or I want a blissful experience. And these are all the salesmen, they're all the invitations to keep us in the separation, that this isn't quite it. Something has to happen. I have to awaken. I have to walk through a park and then I'm not there anymore, or something like that, which are just all thoughts, and they're all those salesmen, even subtly, because you may have a really good grasp on this understanding, but there's still that slight invitation, but I'm not quite there yet. There's something has got to happen. And then, like, I got it, I get lots of feelings of peace and lack of suffering is there, but there's just, I'm not quite there. And the invitations will get subtler and subtler just to keep you in that seemingly separation. And when you realize that whatever is appearing in the mind is not your thought, they're just they're appearances. Now those appearances can come from two sources. The thoughts can translate from the intelligence that we are, and that we call that creativity, love, and those thoughts are wonderful. And sometimes it's wonderful to bathe in our thoughts of creativity and what could be and whatever. But then there's the other thoughts which come from this energy harvesting matrix that is trying to survive, it's trying to stay real, and it needs to keep plugging into that. Yeah, so it's going to offer you more invitations into that separation. But what about tomorrow? And I just sort of invite anybody to notice that when when you want to hear stories of awakening, there's a presumption there that you're not awake now.
Yes.
in that thought itself. And the evidence is to the contrary, because we're all very much awake. No matter what is appearing, no matter if there's any invitations there into separateness, or it can never take us away from that is always ever available. But it's only ever available presently, right now, right here, right now. It's not available in a future experience or even past experiences. They're all in that mind matrix. Yes. And they want to pull us in. And the same as having those experiences, we think, that the thought may come up that I've had experiences of this in the past, I have to get back to that, or whatever. They're all more of that belief in separation. So in the end, like those street sellers in Hong Kong, they're always going to be loitering around when you leave your hotel, which is and because we can all sit on our meditation cushion and close our eyes and feel a sense of peace. But we still have to go out into the world. We still participate as a separate pattern of energy with our own destiny. Dream continues on, but we're awake to the dream. But we can leave the hotel. The street sellers are still going to be there, and they're still going to have a pocket full of watches and whatever. But now that they don't have the only power, the only energy they have is what we supply to them. And even stopping and engaging and saying, no thanks, it's like trying to push away the thoughts. The thought comes up, no, I'm just going to push that away. It's like saying no thanks, because even that encourages them. They go throw something out. Yeah, but what about this? The key is to see them as non-existent. It's like you're walking through a dream and you just keep walking, and they haven't got that ability. And once they realize that there's no energy at all to be taken, without energy, nothing can live without energy, and it will just start to, nothing needs to be done about it. Nothing needs to be pushed away or seen through or anything. It's just our consent of that energy, of just to hold it in ourselves and see that as being awake to the dream, like you said there, that then nothing can pull you in. And then awakening is always now.
Or it may pull you in, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Yes, that's all part of what's just happening. What a beautiful, beautiful story, metaphor. I love that.
Yeah.
That's fantastically, because we've all experienced that, you know, and that how to sort of navigate that and just keep walking.
Yeah.
Just keep walking.
Yeah.
And this, as you said, there's nowhere to go. Where are you going to go? There's nowhere to go. This is it. This is it.
This is good as
It's as good as it gets.
And as bad as it gets.
And as bad, whatever. It is exactly what it is in the moment.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, just a breakdown of a couple of ways in which the not responding can happen as well. Like, and I've had experience in Cuba, you know, so I know what it's like. And also with friends who like constantly kind of locked in, you know, they did this, so therefore I'm like this, or a whole lot of various patterns in the world that you can see. It can be simpler than that and clearer than that. So I forgot the depths of that one, but anyway, yeah. So there is the seeing through, constant seeing through, which is the non-engagement. So you're walking along and there's nothing to engage with, and you keep going. I think that's what Jamie was getting at. But then there's the other one is processes that take place to, you know, make so the tobacco sellers no longer have any kind of trigger value. And then there might be a process that just takes place. You know, it can be totally seen through that you're not doing that. And then, you know, whatever the young chat, whatever it might be, thingy, you know, I'll do the Cuba. The sandals no longer are relevant to you, and they may not approach. And the free tour, you know, the guided tours in English are no longer available to you, and they might not happen. So that's the kind of like cleaning up process that gets talked about in non-dual circles, versus the waking up, which would be like, you know, a million post-its. Oh, I remember now, you know, oh, yeah, and, you know, and the brain empties and the brain empties and the brain empties. So I think here one seems to be taking place more than the other at this point. Occasionally the other one floats in, especially by attending these Sundays. Yeah, there's just two different ways. And here the sitting in the room, you know, 24/7 at a, you know, an ashram in the middle of nowhere just doesn't arise, for whatever reason. Well, you know, it just doesn't. And, the cleaning up is happening while walking in the world. And occasionally the seeing through it all the time, constantly while walking in the world takes place too. But yes,
I'll just say one more to it, because I see there is a different language, and I know what you mean when you say this is happening, you know, like recognizing is happening, or cleaning up is happening, or this is happening, and there are two processes. How I understand, you know, Jamie and Tanya discussing about non-engaging is like, it is not I that doesn't engage, and I understand. Yeah, I understand that you're saying it too. Just for the people who are there maybe listening, just for another way of putting it, for resonation. Rather than, you know, this is I don't engage, you could say, I am the one who is already non-engaging. You know? Yeah, for you, but for majority of people, realizing that there is a space that in which all that non-engaging walking is happening, that space is never engaging. and that space is registering whatever the movement is happening, and it's already and forever free from any of what is happening. And that space, that cognizing emptiness is your essential nature.
And then when you go to crash, it's not happening.
But
Yeah.
it's just a space of neutrality, really, where there's, because whatever you're in the dualistic matrix of that mind, then there is a accepting, non-accepting, engaging, non-engaging. But as that sort of effortless being that we are, which is just a place of neutrality, or witnessing, or just seeing as it is, without any kind of conceptualizing or commenting on, I want to engage or I don't want to engage. It's like seeing it as a dream. There is no choiceless. Yeah, choiceless awareness. There's lots of ways, unconditional love, whatever. It's just there's no opinion that the sellers are bad people for trying to sell me or whatever. There's no judgment there or anything. It's just realizing that, and because there's and that's only a concept anyway. It's just a good story to explain, metaphor to explain what happens with the mind, because when the thoughts come up, and a lot of our thinking is non-problematic, and there's no problem with thinking. As I said, a lot of the time our thinking can be very creative or imaginative, and it's fun to entertain concepts. But when the concepts arise that try to pull us into a feeling of lack or separation, that those concepts, we're not bound to entertain those concepts, that they're immediately seen as self-limiting concepts and of no value, and then discarded. And it's like Nisargadatta said, I use words don't use me. And if a concept arises that is immediately seen of no value, then it's immediately walked straight past. It's no value, because those concepts are just there to pull you into an idea, which is only ever an idea of separation. And even if that's happening, that's not a problem either, because we've never left what we are. We already are that boundless awareness, no matter what concepts or beliefs or energy can't ever pull us out of it, because that is the ground of reality, and that is an established fact that we already are. But it's just helpful to notice concepts that come up that may tell us, I'm not quite there yet, or I wonder when my awakening's going to happen, or anything like that. That they're all just concepts that we're not bound. It's like Ramana said when a student asked him how to realize the self. Ramana said, just drop the idea that you're not already realized. It's simple.
Can you not be?
Yeah.
As Bob would say, can you not be? Try it for a moment.
Yeah.
See, can you?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And how beautiful that this beautiful story and this gorgeous explanations of how to kind of, you could say, understand what's going on. It's all of it's coming out of Jamie's mouth, right? But there is nothing but empty space. It's empty space. It's emptiness, but it's not nothingness. There's a awareness, and it's coming out, and it's being heard by no one.
Yeah.
No one as an individual. It's just, that is your actual experience. It's empty. It's empty, coming out of empty space.
We're only ever talking to ourselves.
Yeah, isn't it just wow? Just wow.
Nothing ever happened.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
You cannot. There's literally nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. That's it. All this other seeming stuff is illusion.
Yeah, and it's all a fun ride. It's like Bill Hicks. I don't know if you ever saw that Bill Hicks. I sent it to you and
Yes,
said
it was gorgeous.
life is just a ride.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a roller coaster. We go up, we go down, and some of us realise it's just a ride, and we go, hey, it's just a ride.
That lovely little joke about the first song you ever sing. Tell us.
The first song you ever
You
sang.
ever learned as a child?
Oh, yeah. Row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. And it goes around, around, and around.
You take a teacher knowledge.
But I think once you're grounded in that established fact of your being, and that at any moment you're invited to just witness the fact of your being, then the ride, you can have fun on the ride. You can jump on the roller coaster and go up and down, and you can fall in love, and you can do all the aspects of the dream, but you're not bound by it. There's always a clear understanding that it's just a dream. Awake to the dream, like you were saying before. You don't have to sort of retreat to a cave and just rest in that beingness. It's like I heard a good story once. I think it was Ramesh Balsakar said to one of his students, and his student was saying, I feel this sense of being, but then I got to go back into the world. I got to work, and I got to go back into being a person again. And Ramesh said to him, he said, you know where your home is, right? Do you know where you live? And he goes, yeah, of course I know where you live. Now, every day you got to go to work, and you go and work on the building site or whatever. Are you constantly having to remind yourself all day where I live? I live in this street, and remind yourself of where your home is? No, you go and work, you forget about it. There's always, I know where my house is, I know where my home is, and it's a good sort of metaphor for life. We can go out and we can participate in being this seemingly character with all its, things going on in its life, but we know where our home is. We don't have to keep reminding ourselves. It is an established fact, and once that fact is established beyond doubt,
it's only the thoughts, the seeming thoughts, that put energy belief go that
you can ever get away from
this
it.
Impression that you left home.
Yeah.
But you never did.
You never left home.
You never left home.
You can't. What?
There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
There is nowhere to go.
Yeah. And then it's fun. Just to enjoy the ride, whatever comes up.
Exactly.
There's nothing right or wrong with
whether
whatever's
you want
appearing.
to or not.
Yeah.
There's no choice.
You can play the dream of being asleep if you like. That's a fun one, until it stops being fun, and then whatever. There's no. That's the wonderful thing about these pointings is you can't fuck it up. Can you? There's no right or wrong way.
There's no right or wrong.
It's just, and that was a big breakthrough. And I think that was, when I first met Bob, that I realized that you just can't stuff this up at all, because it's already an established fact. Whereas before there was a belief into this thing that there's got to be meditation, there's got to be an awakening, and I've got to stop eating meat, and or whatever, that you can stuff it up. And that's all mind stuff. That's all that invitation into that, because that's never ever true. But the understanding is there's no right or wrong way. How can you escape the fact of your being? Try getting out of it. Try getting out of this moment. Try getting out of the now. They talk about getting into the now. Try getting out of it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
There's no other way.
There's no difference, the enlightened versus the non-enlightened. The enlightened has dropped the concept that they're not.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that distinguishes belief and the thought that there's something needs to be done.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's just more thought. It's not your thought. It's just that
arising
that dualistic matrix trying to keep you in that belief, because it requires your energy.
It's your watch sellers
to
and
give
your
it
dope
a reality.
sellers.
Yeah, otherwise they're going to be unemployed. It's like, didn't Nisargadatta say, leave the mind unemployed?
Yeah.
You know, eventually they'll go and find something else to do, get a real job.
And the funny part of the dreaming, you know, you may dream that you are unenlightened. Even more ridiculous dream, you may dream that you are awake and others are not. Yeah, I came across people who are, wow, what the delusion of grandeur. I believe that Hillary Clinton chops the kidneys of little children in a pizzeria in America, therefore I'm woke and you are not. And other conspiracies like that. The conspiracy that, oh yes, I was in touch with the Arcturian nation on whatever, therefore I'm awoke, and you are not.
Oh, I was selected. I'm special.
Yes. Or I have the transmissions from a higher dimension of consciousness, so I am woke, and you are not. You see, the same ridiculous dream of separation showing up in multitude of ways. There is an I, and that I is different and is separate from that field of knowing, even though it arises in the field of knowing. And I can't deny the fact that I am witnessing that arising. I am the knowing of that arising. But it arises with the concept, no, I'm the little thing that in the future, at some point, it will get it. And it has to do this, that, and the other, including getting to know the projector. Getting to know the projector is part of the beautiful roller coaster ride. It is not a prerequisite to realize that you exist, because that you know already. You don't have to realize that you exist. Try to not exist. Try to not be. It's just to chop off the idea that I exist as this little creature, this poor, miserable, little, isolated, separate dream character, which in the future will become total and whole and complete and lovable. Those concepts are to be seen for what they are. They are overlay. They are the constructed reality. They are interpretation coming up from that conceptual mind, which always wants to provide with a beautiful story, beautiful meaning. Now you get it. You see, now you understand it. You add to yourself a little bit more knowledge, a little bit more wisdom. Read a couple of books, watch a couple of satsangs, and you will know something that will make you more complete. But the one who is incomplete and wants to get complete is the dream character arising in the field of knowing that is never not here and never not complete. And there is never anything wrong with that pure knowing. It doesn't have shape, size, form, nothing, and it can't be denied. Even in the midst of a sleep, lucid dream or not lucid dream, when you are dreaming, that awareness of the dream unfolding is there. So in a way, that field of knowing, that field of being knowing, the presence, awareness of presence, is never not here. Even if the dream character is not now sitting and yapping, but the dream character is climbing the trees in the forest or jumping off the airplanes or whatever, in the dream or in the fantasy or in the memories, that is not happening here. It's still happening within the field of knowing. And that field is what I am. And that field is what you are. And there is absolutely no way to deny it. Even though the imagination or the constructed reality says, oh no, I'm not that field yet. Maybe I will become that field of knowing when I disidentify with the imagined self as a character. The one who wants to disidentify is not your true self. The knowing of identity, identifying, disidentified, is already free. And that is who you are. You can't deny it. You can make yourself believe, seemingly, because there is no you doing it. It's just a program. It's just the energy going through that projector, which is already programmed to reference itself as a body-mind. And it's learned that, and it's rehearsed that, and it's done that right from when the reasoning capacity kicked in when the little child had enough words. It started referencing, I am this vehicle. So that habit, rehearsed all life, practiced all life, is already known and is forever being known in that consciousness which is free from it. So you are the consciousness. And a habit may last forever. Who cares? Consciousness doesn't. Or it may be broken. Or it may be seen through. And again, who cares? The habit of referencing, habit of identifying, the habit of noticing the referencing or identifying is arising and is registered. And the field of registry, that knowing presence, it doesn't mind. The presence doesn't say, I want to be something else. I want the dream character to be taller or shorter or more enlightened or more complete or more respected. It doesn't say anything at all. It unconditionally embraces and envelops all that appears in it. And it doesn't say, this is mine, this is me. It allows that to arise, the idea of mine and me to arise. It doesn't object to anything. It is clear like space. It is like sky. And it is always here. The realization is the recognition of that always being here. Whatever the emotion is bubbling in life, the resistance, the objection of the mind. No, this is not my experience. I understand it. Intellectually, I get it, but I don't feel it. That one who is yelling and screaming and holding on to by the skin of its teeth to the idea of separation, to the idea, I am this feeling, I am this anxious feeling, this is who I am. That is also registered in the field of knowing. And honestly, you know it is registered, otherwise you couldn't even narrate it. And so that is undeniable, the registration of the feeling. So feeling's not always there, but the registration, the capacity to know, is always there. The feeling sometimes is really strong anxiety, unlovability, and self-hatred and self-rejection, and the longing for completeness and truth and love. And sometimes it's very, very faint. But how could that be you? Are you more at some point and less at another point? You couldn't be that feeling. But the knowing of the feeling, even the capacity to see, oh, it's stronger now, oh, it's weaker now. Even that evaluation is not you. It's just another function of the interpreting vehicle, the program. But the registering, the knowing, the cognizing emptiness, the pure knowing, just like the pure seeing, is always here. Claiming that seeing, that this is my seeing, this is my knowing. It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it?
It's like the biological functions of the body, because I work in health. A lot of people come to me and they experience feelings of anxiety or panic attacks and or depression or any kind of mood, sort of emotional upsets. And what's not often understood is it's natural for the me to claim the anxiety or the depression or whatever is arising as I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling depressed, and we tend to personalize it by something that I did. Therefore, there's something wrong with me, or there's some sort of failure because I'm feeling anxious. And when it's often pointed out to them that there's often, it's just a biological movement. And I explain to them like it's natural for our cortisol and adrenaline levels to rise at night time when we're sleeping. So it's not unusual to wake up in the middle of the night with a feeling of anxiety in the body. It's got nothing to do with the me being anxious or anything like that. It's just a biological movement of the body, of chemical signaling of the cortisol raising, causing the heart rate to rise a little bit. And then what does the me latches onto? They're going, oh, I'm having a panic attack. Rather than, those exact same feelings, you can go to an amusement park and pay your money and get on a roller coaster ride, and you get the same rising cortisol and the rate and the heartbeat and all that, but you're really excited and love it because you paid your money, so you're not labeling it as anxiety. It's just a biological feeling in the body. And it's often helpful to realize that the body will have different biological states according to its blood sugar, its cortisol levels, different times of day, the moon, with the placement of the moon, different feelings. And it's only the ownership of those feelings, same as with the thoughts, these are my thoughts, this is my feeling, I'm anxious, I'm feeling depressed, rather than there's a low mood here or there's a feeling of, and when it's witnessed impersonally like that, and often we don't have the biological understanding to realize that it's normal cycling of biological function, and left as it is, it's just like weather patterns. It's like, the clouds will form, the rain will pour, the wind will come, it'll blow it away, the sun comes out again. And all these are movements like weather in the body, and seen impersonally, it doesn't matter if there's a feeling of anxiety or a feeling of low mood or anything like that. If they're not personalized and they're just seen as weather patterns, it's different energy patterns, just the same as the thoughts are not mine. We don't need to buy the watch, we don't need to buy these feelings that the body is displaying. And
just like the weather, change in the dream is inevitable.
Yeah,
everything in the dream is changing all the time, static. Constantly, from one moment to the next.
No static
the
point.
Body is not the same as it was, tiny proportion of a second ago. It's constantly changing.
Yeah.
So if there's a concept that in order to be happy, there must be no change or consistency.
You can see that now, with the whole Botox generation and people trying to preserve, trying to make the body a static thing. Don't change. I got to make you always look young, and just and do all these things to the body to maintain it is just a intense form of suffering, because that's a losing game.
It's happening in the dream.
Is there
something wrong with it?
No. There's nothing wrong with anything, no.
What? It suits you like this. But the point is, it's a good point, is that fundamentally, in the dream, if we talk from one point of view, you can see it from different points of view, from, say, a science point of view, a health point of view. The body is subject to hormonal changes, changes in neurotransmitter levels. Well, fundamentally, it all comes down to electrical signaling.
It's just a movement of energy.
Which is a movement of energy, if we conceptualize it that way. But that's just a way of conceptualizing it. But it's constantly in flux.
No, there's no static point there. And that's what the me, this believed in me, it's trying to hold on to that which it believes is good, and reject that which it believes is not good, which is the dualism, which is just something that's biologically happening as well too. And it's just if anything, the awakening is not awakening to your true nature, because we're always awake, but it's awakening to those movements, those different turbulences that occur overlaid on that being into what
Kat
we
was
are.
saying, get to know the machine.
Yeah.
Get to know the vehicle. Know where your indicators are. Know what happens when you turn too sharply or when you...
And you take the mystery out of it, and then it's seen as a mechanical movement.
So
there's no
stormy
me
today.
doing it. There's no failure.
That's it. There's no right or wrong.
Yeah.
And also, there is not necessarily a suffering involved with the fact that you shave your face. There might be, if there is an idea that, naturally I'm so ugly with a long beard, I can't stand myself, I hate myself. No, naturally it may be just, the body is shaving. Oh,
Or if you don't have ability to grow a beard like me, I'm such a failure, I can't grow a beard. Not like Dean, he's so hirsute. I wish
but you still shave sometimes. And the narrative always comes later. The motivation comes later. The explanations come later.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the nature, the animals also puff themselves up to look bigger, but there is no narrative, oh, I'm too small, I'm not good enough as small, I have to puff. My cat had the tail puffed up today because he got spooked of something. Mm-hmm. But people have the justifications in the story. Oh, I'm ugly, I need some hair coloring. But if the hair coloring happens without any backstory to it, it doesn't necessarily have to be the sign of suffering.
No,
Nothing
you
has
take
to
care
be...
of the vehicle. If you've got a nice car, you take it to the car wash, you look after it, you buff the scratches out. You want it to look good because you like the car. It's the same as the body. We take care of the body. We do whatever it needs, whatever its requirements are to keep it healthy and keep it running well. But it's the identification that this body is me. Therefore, if this body decays, I'm decaying as well. This body dies, I'm going to die. That's the suffering, is the identification. Not right. There's nothing right or wrong with taking care of the body like we take care of our home or anything else like that.
Yeah, and the backstory always happens a little bit later. The urge arises, and then the interpretation happens. I do it because. I'm not doing it. Yeah. It just is what happened.
And it's always after, because that's the nature of the mind. Is the mind is a storytelling mechanism. It's got to find a story about everything, and that's just what it's going to do. Like our cortisol raises at night, and after a big meal, our blood sugar rises. The mind interprets events, and it normally interprets them to this reference point that we have, and that's the option. It doesn't need to always be, can be just what's happening.
You can see through it.
Yeah, or not.
Or not.
And the one who is seeing or not seeing is not your true self, because the space-like awareness is always, always present and aware and here and known. You want to say the last word?
Thank you,
Come on,
everyone.
No.
Bye-bye. Have a lovely day.